Hi everyone. So I am Avi, Dr. Avi Singh. I'm a resident at Emory, currently pursuing my neurology residency after doing my medicine year. And I am someone who tries to remember things and think about them in a perspective that I am not the only person who's applying. We all, as IMGs especially, represent a lot of people. And we've all heard the same comments and we've all had the same barriers, be it visas, be it electives, be it just proving that you are better or you are at least as good as you are. Um, and I think it's a beautiful time. And as stressed as you all are right now, you're going to be beautifully progressing into the next phase of your journeys. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And that's why I'm here to remind you all of that and also answer very real questions that we all have, specifically regarding the application itself. Because I know there's a lot of content about the steps out there, there's a lot of content about where to apply. But specifically regarding the application, I think there are so many questions that I got asked from different people. And I was like, I just don't want to help one person because this is a question for a lot many other people too. And once we can go through those questions, that can help all of you here. For example, something that Shambhavi asks me, or something that Niharika asks me, Akshata asks me, I'm sure it's going to probably help everyone else in here. And then there are a few questions I got over my Google Forms. I can go through them. But all in all, I am all yours for this next hour. Please make the most of it. Um, and make sure when you are on this side, you do the same in your own way. Um, but okay, we have 9 people, so that's pretty cool. Good to see you, Roma, Akshita, Priyati, uh, and I think I took everyone else's name right. Cool. So I think the first question that comes to our heads when it comes to the application is like, oh, is my application not good enough? Or like, I'm comparing it to this person. This person has this many research, or how do I write my experiences? Or what is the protocol? What is the correct way to do it? And to my understanding, there is no one correct way. Um, your application is a whole package which has to kind of reflect what you have done over the years. That does not mean that you be complacent with it. You have to present it as beautifully with the things that you have done. There is no space for lies, and there does not need to be because you've done a lot. But it does not need to be the same. If some person's done 40 publications, his application is going to be researchy, which will include his personal statement, probably talking something about the research, which will include his experiences, having like 3 out of those 9 or 10 experiences being research. But that does not mean that if you don't have that, your application is lacking. You can be something very different. For example, I was a medical education enthusiast. So I made sure like two of my experiences were related to that. My personal statement talked about it. In addition to whatever are basic requirements like your electives, like your internship year, because that is going to be common to a lot of people. And all of those basic stuff has to be there, but the game changes how you present it. So, for example, when I wrote my application, my experience of my internship has to be presented in a way that it is going to people in the USA who do not know how internship works in India, right? A lot of people might, but you're also going to be sending it to American program directors, right? So I made sure like, oh, 4 weeks in obs gynae, surgery, eye, infectious diseases, things that we think are part of our daily lives. But like if you tell them you did infectious diseases in India, which is literally a year of microbiology, that is big, right? You have to present things like that. Don't think about, oh, everyone does it. Think it about it in a way that you are selling whatever you have done or presenting it to a person who probably doesn't know how things work in India. And you'll be shocked how many people in your interviews are going to ask you, describe your internship to us. Like I got asked that out of nowhere and I was like, I've obviously done 1 year of it, but I don't know how to like put it across and what are you trying to get out of me? So keep ready with those questions, right? The other important thing is whenever in doubt about your application, like, oh, do I want to, do I not? Ask yourself, if you were a program director, would you be okay with that? If the answer to okay with that is yes, then you're probably fine. From there on, you ask, like, do I like this personally as a person? And the truth is, out of the 100 people who see your applications, 10 will not like you regardless, whatever you do. 10 will like you for how you come across. 80 or 70% of the people will not really base the decision of looking or not looking into your application based on one single thing in it, right? You have to be happy at the end of the day that, oh, I am happy with my application. This is what I presented. This is the best way I could present everything that I have done. Now, the part of you having done things is all over. Like, that's done. That's a good thing because you don't have to stress about doing more. The bad thing is you got to make sure whatever you have done gets shown in a beautiful way. And this is where the art of application building or presenting comes in, because a lot of people do a lot of stuff. Like, we, Priyati and I were in an organization together. We used to do events like literally every week. We could like write a million things about every little thing. But the con to that is it's gonna dilute everything important or relevant that's gonna be in there. So you gotta like specifically choose, be okay with letting go of things. And if that comes across in the interview, that's okay. Think of your application as step one into you getting an interview. That's the goal. You getting into the program is the interview itself, right? And those can be different things. In your application, you're just teasing them just the right amount for them to give you an interview, because they want to feel that they want to know more about you, not that you give them everything and then they're like, oh, now I know the story. And it's literally like a movie, right? You just tease them like, I'm good enough and you give me a chance. Like, this is the amount of research that I've done. Or like, if I've written like, I do medical quizzes or this thing, like, and I'm like, I've done 23 quizzes over the last 3 years. I want them to ask me about it if they're interested. And if they're not, let them not ask me, because if they're not and I'm talking all about it, it's probably going to be repulsive to them. Like, why? I'm not even interested. Same thing, think about your application in different dimensions. Every year it changes. Like, sometimes you have a meaningful experience, sometimes you have like signals, sometimes you have geographical preferences. Very rightfully, we all have a lot of specific questions that what do about geographical preference? What do I do about signals? The honest truth is there is something baseline, right? Oh, yes, don't signal places which do not take IMGs, which is something that you would already know in your heads, right? Like, after asking that to one person, you would know, like, everyone will say that. Like, obviously, a place that doesn't take IMGs does not need to be signaled because they will not take IMGs. But then there are places like they've taken some in the last few years where you need to be really good. And then if you think your profile is good enough, you have the courage to spare an extra signal for them. Sure. My point being, people will tell you yes or no, but you will have to decide when things are in the gray area. Like, do I want to signal or do I not want to signal to this place? Can I spare? Like, the three places I'm signaling are great. Like, I'm very comfortable. They're very IMG friendly. But I want to take a shot at this one place too. And I have like 8 signals. Go ahead. It's okay. Be strategic, but do not regret anything at the end of the day. You are smart enough to not signal a place which does not take IMGs at all, right? But then know that if 9 people are on my screen or like 30 people have joined this, everyone's gonna apply to different places. The same application. If you all do the same thing, everyone's gonna like write things differently, project things differently, signal places differently. And it's fair to ask genuine questions like, what do I do about geographical preferences? And I'll give you an example. During my time, I think that was very new. And in my head, the thought process was, I don't want anyone to feel that I don't want to go there. And that's the logic when people feel that they don't want to put geographical preferences. Sure. And it was so new at my time that no one knew the right answer to that question. And I was like, I'll probably not put it. And because it feels safe. And the other thing that I saw the bigger picture, like, I'm okay with my application. This is a question that I cannot have a real answer to. It's okay to not overthink it. It's fine. Over the years, you get people telling you things. And if you think that sounds convincing enough to you, go ahead. Like, I have recently heard that putting the preferences can at least get your chances high in those areas, or especially if there's a real reason you want to go there. I think that is the logic that you had a preference, because they expected you to only apply in certain places where you really want to go. It's a different scenario that how we use the system is that we are applying broadly 200 programs, right? So you have to understand why that geographical preference is there. If you're applying to 10 programs, within that, you're like, I want to really let you know that I really want to be here. So that I think is more relevant to AMGs, sure to IMGs, but not to the extent where you start thinking about it over everything else. You make a decision, you want to put it, you like someone might have family in a place and they might feel like this is more relevant to me than another IMG who's literally trying to match anywhere, right? So you have to pick and choose what is your situation and how much can you know the truth to an answer, and then let that go. And you will see, as and when we discuss the questions we discuss here, some answers will be very straightforward. I'll try to give you my opinion, does not mean it has to apply to everyone. That is the one thing that I always say. People love to act smart. People love to show that they know everything. No one knows shit after a point. Experience is what counts, and that is why I'm here. Like, I've seen this system for the last 2 years, and I'm going to try my best to share what I have seen, what I have learned. But that in no way has to mean that this is the only right way. And I've done like 20 interviews with 80 different people, and I still feel that I don't know everything because I don't. My sample size is still so limited because there's so many different people who think so differently. What I'm trying to do is talk to you about my experiences and hoping that some of you might feel, oh, this makes sense. And this was something that I was thinking, but I did not have the courage to go ahead with it because I did not know if other people were feeling it. That's what I'm trying to do. So that you feel, oh, yes, I was thinking that, and that's okay. Same thing. There's an example with my personal statement that I do give. There is no reason, if you talk to 100 people, probably 100 out of 100, 99 out of 100 will tell you there is no reason that your PS needs to be more than one page. And I agree. If someone is scrolling through 5,000 applications, is going to open 500 applications, they're just finding one random objective reason to not pick your application, right? Which might be like, why is this PS 2 pages? Does it need to be 2 pages, right? And I am of the same school of thought. Like, I don't want to, although your PS can technically be 20, 25 pages. There's no limit. Like, there's the limit is 25 pages, right? But this is an unsaid rule that it became because like people are scrolling through so many applications. But you know what? If I was a program director in a place where applications are only 100 applications and I'm choosing two people, I would not mind a person with a longer PS because I really want to know this person. And it comes down to the logistics, right? There's no unsaid rule. The story is different in our case because we are now applying to programs with like 5,000 applications. However, in my year, when I wanted to write my PS, I compressed it to one page somehow, and I wanted to write a poem. Like I do something called medical poetry, and I was like, this does not do justice on one page. And I'll have a lot of people who will always be like, why is it 2 pages and not take me? But I also know as people, some people will be like, wait, what is this? This is so interesting. But that's not the reason that I put it in there. The reason I put it in there is because it is actually that personal to me. And I feel comfortable that I'm in a place, my score is great, my application is great. So that way, my logistics are in a way that I feel it's okay even if I lose out on 10 or 20% programs just for interviews where I might even not want to go. But I want to like take this chance of putting a poem in my PS, which is very me, because I want this person to know who I am and how I write. And I really don't know if I would have gotten 15 interviews without that poem or 25 interviews without that poem. I'll really not know. But I was okay with that gamble personally. So I'm telling you how I will tell you things that I did or people did. No way have to mean that, oh, you should do that. Or I become this person like, oh, it doesn't matter. Make your PS 2 pages. See, my PS was 2 pages. That's not how it works. Logic in its place. And then the risk that you take based on your own very personal situation at its own place. And the good and the bad part is there is very less black and white. So I think with that very abstract spiritual meta conversation, we can transition into any questions that you guys want to ask. And I'm going to like prioritize people who have their video. Hi, Shambhavi. Good to see you after really long.
Hi, good to see you too.
After
Yes, really long. Yes.
any questions you guys have? Otherwise, I can reach out to the questions that I have in the chat box. Or you just don't want to discuss your situation or something very specific, if you guys feel comfortable, up to absolutely you. And the reason that I'm doing this session is because a lot of times I get messages and I cannot get back to them is because it's a little too crazy. As much as we like to think life gets better, it does, but it gets worse in a very different way. But please make sure you ask as many questions. Okay, Niharika, you had a question, right?
Yeah. Hey, Dr. Avi, how are you?
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. And thank you so much for the session, because now that I have rotated in programs which have residency programs, I know how hectic it is. But still you are taking this time out for us and answering our questions. That's really nice of you. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so the question that I have is that how do I go about signaling? Because I know the top 10 places where I have to signal, but the next five, they are like super difficult for me to decide. Do I signal the places where I have a recommendation going in, or the places that I really like, or probably when they reply to my letter of interest? What should I do?
Mhm. I think the short answer is a balance of it all. There is not gonna be like a criteria, oh, three of these, four of these, five of these. That's the short answer. The long answer is we really don't know how programs specifically work. I can guide you in knowing that don't just go by the letters of interest or the intent or what they reply you with. A lot of programs will reply you in a way that you feel like they really want me and go ahead with it. Don't let that bias you. It's just a program mentality. Some programs reply to everyone and some programs don't reply to anyone, but they still like you. So when I matched at Emory, I never got a like I mailed the two or three programs that I really enjoyed the interview. And Emory was one of those programs because it's so heavy, hectic that it doesn't reply. And I genuinely thought in my head, like I'm not matching. But I ended up matching here, right? So don't just go by it. Don't let that affect your decision necessarily alone. If you want to go to a place you really like it, you also might have a recommendation going in already. Don't take that for granted too. Sometimes some programs can be like, if you really know you want to go to this place, like it's so high, I would say give it your all. Recommendation is important. Signal them. Like, don't give any signal from your end that might be taken like questionably. Like, oh, this person got a recommendation, but they didn't signal us, even though they have like 10 signals now. So I think however number of your signals are, like in my year I just had three signals. So I think easy, difficult, I had to specifically choose. You have a greater margin of taking risks, which also means more people have more signals, so they really don't care as much, or maybe at least they might use it to filter people out, right? Sometimes it's like 500 people are applying, or 5,000 are applying, they have to take 500. 800 people have signaled, so they're not even gonna look at the people outside that 800 sometimes, right? They'll be like, we'll go through these 800 and we'll see if we don't like, then we'll go outside. Like, if you really want to go, like, don't have anything that you come home with regret, right? But again, like, if there's a place like you're like, I might not really want to go, and there's a recommendation going in, sure, because I want you to get recommendations from everywhere you can. But does not mean that you need to or would want to go there, and you don't need to signal there. You can use your signal somewhere else. And I think try it all, except like very extremes, like not signaling a place that does not take IMGs or does not compatibly match your scores or whatever. But otherwise, yeah, you can experiment.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Priyati,
Hi, first, am I audible?
perfect.
Okay, great. So continuing on Niharika's question, but taking it in a different direction, we do have geographical preferences and we have something called hometowns this year, where you can mention the name of the area or the place where you have a very strong sense of belonging. You don't have to necessarily have family there, is what they say in the application.
Mhm.
So, what is your opinion on signaling outside the three geographical preferences or hometowns? And do you think I mean, from a program's perspective, I don't know if they can see my geographical preferences or not.
Mhm.
So that's the area. If I'm signaling a place which is outside my preferences,
Mhm.
primarily because it's just I'm not signaling anything other than that place. I'm not making it my preference. So what is your take? Should we go ahead and signal still, or a letter of interest might just work?
Oh, first, letter of interest is sure. Please send it. It doesn't do shit in a lot of cases. So don't rely on it doing or not doing anything. If it does something, that can be a bonus that you will never know, but don't rely on it. Like, you send it, feel good about it. I did send it to the places that I like and get some curry. And also make sure that I would say, like, if something is to the extent you really want to go there, like at least like 7.5 on 10, like you really want to go, use a signal, let them know, because then you come back thinking like I signaled, like I did my best, and then try reach out through the faculty, whatever feels sense. But like don't have them get any inclination that it's a double-minded person who's just trying to also get recommendations and not signaling. Having said that, I think these questions are very valid, like how it'll be perceived. And I would also think the same. You're thinking, right? How would a program think about you? Like if you're like doing this, like, oh, this person's geographical preference is this, hometown is this, why is he signaling me? Very real thoughts. And I think we are also a little overthinking it because our life depends on it, our career depends on it. And the truth is, if someone starts thinking that way, they will definitely be able to find flaws. But there's so many more people, 90%, who do not overthink it that much. If it goes to a place where your hometown is, someone will take a big plus out of it, or someone from your geographical preference will take out like a mini plus out of it. But most other places understand that you can still really love a specific university and love some other geographical region. And the thing is, that is the only story scenario that makes sense, right? I would love to be in this place, I would love to be in this geographical preference, but I get it, I might not necessarily match there, and also love this university which is on the other coast, so that's why I'm signaling. So when asked, just know that that's your story. That's the reason that you're applying. They know you're applying to other places or whatever. Don't bring it up unless asked about it. But in your head, feel okay that that's the story. Like, and that actually is your story, right? You're not gonna signal outside to places which are random. Uh, sure, the logic might be that it's an outside place, but it takes IMGs, and you're okay with that. That's why you're signaling them. So that's your story. You're obviously not gonna rub it in a program's face that that's the other beautiful program that I'm applying to. But everyone knows and know that you are both matching. They are matching you and you are matching them. I think that is the other problem that we face is we think that we are begging for programs. Sure, in a way, we all want it, but they also want great residents, and you are all great residents. So have that confidence in you. Go at a place which really deserves you and carry that confidence with you. Humble confidence. So I think that really helps. If you're like coming across as someone with who needs it instead of deserves it, they will not take you. Like need is not gonna make it happen. They're gonna like have to feel that you deserve it, and to the point where then they will feel like you're gonna do great to their program, and that's how they think about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Helps.
Cool. Okay, I'm gonna let the mic to Abhinav, but before that, in case our meeting gets short, I'll share another link on the WhatsApp group I have. I hope everyone's on the WhatsApp group. If someone's not, can go to their email and join the WhatsApp group again. But we'll also go through the questions that we got over the email, and if at all, at some point you guys do not have more questions, but I hope I can carry this on for the next 30 minutes. So feel free to ask your questions too. The other important thing that I want to bring is like we're gonna like share a feedback form with a space for you to let us know how the session was. And if you have any more questions too, but make sure you fill it so that we have an idea, because I'm sure we cannot cover everything, but we'll try cover as much. Yes, Abhinav, can we?
Hi, good morning. Thank you for organizing this session. Very helpful. I have two questions, and one of them is personal to me, so I'm sorry to the other people who are in here. First question is about the geographical location, which most of you already covered. I live in California, but my med school was in Caribbean, so I will be US IMG, but so my first preference is, of course, California, but the other two geographical preference I fill in like Michigan area and Arizona. And both of them I selected because I went to school at University of Michigan for my master's, and for my postgraduate, I went to Arizona. So is that okay, or should I change something? Because that's what I put in the explanation for geographical locations. Like, hey, I already went to school there, so I lived there for 2, 3 years. So I still have like connection to those places. So is that good enough, or?
I think that's very valid. I think what insight I can give to you is,
Mhm.
if someone tells that someone has been living in a place, or someone feels very comfortable at a place, that you're so familiar with your surroundings and you just love that place for whatsoever reason. For example, if I was referring to Atlanta, it's like I love
Mhm.
the weather because it's very comfortable, very similar to how I am in India. I have some family in Atlanta. If I had been to Atlanta before, I would have definitely mentioned that I've been to Atlanta and I love it. I think all of these very familial factors make a
Okay.
huge, huge impact. Like,
Okay.
does not need to be like, I love your university, it's the best university. No. Even if you tell like, I love being in Atlanta, it's a very, very big plus because they also think that this is someone who's gonna rank us high.
Yeah.
That's how their mentality also works. So don't underplay if you have ties to a city or to an area, or if you have like, my family lives 2 hours away, so that's a big reason I want to get residency here. Obviously be a great candidate, but your ties to a place play a huge role. And that's what I realized, like, whenever I was like, oh, great job, all the interviews, all the extracurriculars, all the scores are great, and then they were like, oh, I was like, I have my brother in Chicago, and then they started making notes like, oh, this person is really going to come here. So that matters a lot. At least where you have ties, somehow make it count. Like, whenever I used to send my letter of intent also to the place that I wanted to match, I was like, great, I've done this. I love that it's going to be there's an education track here because I love education. But importantly, I have my family in Atlanta and I would love to be at a place which is closer to my family for the next 4 years. So that plays a huge role. Don't think about it like that's an excuse to make them feel that, oh, let's take him. It's not like that. They want you to say that.
Okay, thank you. And other question is about the experience that you were mentioning before, like how much to mention in the application. So
Mhm,
before going to med school, I worked as a physical therapist,
mhm.
specifically in like neuro rehab.
Wow.
So I have a lot of I'm applying for neurology, and the
Oh,
only reason I changed my profession from physical therapy to medicine is to go into neurology.
I
So
think. Mhm.
sorry, in my experience, I did a lot of stuff, including electrical diagnostic testing, neurology, and all. Do you recommend mentioning all those things? Because there are 10 options to fill in the experience. I filled all 10 of them. So is that too much, or
Are you asking like, should I fill all 10 experiences or should I let them be empty, like some of them?
I did 10 already. So
Okay.
should I delete some, or should I just leave it to 10?
Like, do you mean that you have not put in your physical therapy experience in there
I
yet?
did. I did physical therapy, neuro
Okay.
rehab, and instructor. I taught to
Did you
students
put
as
them
well.
as different experiences?
Yeah, different.
Yeah, I would say one, it is great because it's a great experience. It's extracurricular enough. It's different from what you're applying into exactly, but it is very relevant. And it's also something very unique, and which is like a perfect combination of an experience. Like, it's not hardcore academic, but it's relevant and it's also unique. A lot of people have not done it, right? And it's
Mhm.
also demonstrative of your dedication and the investment, the effort. So it fits very perfect. It needs to be in there. But
Okay.
from becoming that a unique USP about you, which needs to be highlighted, I don't want you to be recognized as the guy with three experiences in only physical, like three of your experiences are defining just that. I would be like, two is still fine in my head if they are very similar experiences. I again do not know if you can, like, if you put them as different experiences, that's great. Like, different sounding experiences. Like, this was like, for same example, like, if I've done research, I'm a research ambassador for X company, and then I'm a research ambassador for B company. I don't want to put them both research ambassador experiences in my 10 experiences, right? I might put like, I was a research ambassador for X, but then I had a research coordinator role, which was a completely different role for a B company. So overall, my 10 experiences are sounding different. So I'm not telling you to do it 2 or 3 or 5. I want that club similar sounding experiences under one, even if that means like you've done X thing for something else and Y thing for something else, but they're similar sounding, club them together, right? So if I was the leader, organizer, executive committee member for 3 international associations in India, which with very similar roles, I don't want to put them like that. I won't want to put like I'm the education head for this and I'm this for this, whatever. Again, sometimes naturally they're not very different sounding, but they're different roles, right? Like when you've told me they sound similar, but might be very different experiences. What I would do is like amongst those 10 experiences, I will scatter them. Like one will be a second experience, one will be a fifth experience, one will be a ninth experience. I will not put them together.
Okay.
So that when you're
That's
going
a good
through, when you're
idea.
skimming through mine, they come across as, oh, physical guy, and then he's done this. Oh, a lot of research also. Oh, intern in India for a year, which is crazy. For us, it's not crazy. Everyone does it. For them, it's crazy. Like you've done 1 year of internship before starting med school. You have experience in everything. It's an extra 5th year. And sell it like that. You're not an M4. M4s here do a lot of things. As interns, you're doctors in India who are doing services, right? You've done that intern year. Count on that. Like sell on that and really show it to them that you're good because of that. So you've done that, put that somewhere in there. If there's something else that you've done which might not be as big in your head, but it's so different that it gives diversity to your 10 experiences, I would do that. Because
Okay.
you know what is going to happen? You might impress a person who is a physical or neuro person a lot, but there will be like 30-40% people who might not care as much about it. So you want to like cast a wide net on everyone, so you have something for everyone, right? The people who are going to like you for that are going to like you for that. But then let's also cast a web based on things that you also are, but you felt aren't as good, but might interest someone else. Like in my hobbies, I had eight hobbies. Like I started with quizzing, medical poetry, bhangla, cricket, Marvel movies. All of those were my hobbies. Not everyone likes everything, but I scattered them in a way that and I wrote digital art somewhere. And there was this random attending who's like, show me your digital art. And I showed it to them and I was like, this was not even my primary hobby that I want to mention, but this interested you. And he was like so impressed, like you showed it to me right away. And some people are like interested in cricket, some people are interested in something. So what I'm trying to do is like expect your interviews can go in any direction. You don't want to like put all your eggs in one basket
ఇదే
because
నువ్వు చేసింది వీళ్ళ వెబినార్ ఉంది
వెబినార్ 11:30 to 12:30.
అదే
ఓకే. యాక్చువల్లీ సండే మార్నింగ్ అనుకున్నాను.
ఇదే కదా మెడికల్ మీడియా
కాదు కాదు సార్ది వాళ్ళు.
okay, lovely. I found the way to mute all. But essentially you have to know that different people are different with different expectations, with different personalities, with different requirements, with different things that impress them. The goal is ultimately to be yourself, to impress the person who is like you, but also knowing that we are applying at this stage. We are a lot of things that we might not be able to tell right away in one interview. That's why your application is important. To tell them, give them all your shades, all your shades. Someone might like my poetry more than my academic acumen because they'll be like, we'll make you a good doctor. We want to know how you are as a person. And some people would be like, we really don't care what else you do, but your scores are great. So I want to take you for that. So you were casting a wide net.
Okay. Thank you so much. Emory is actually one of my top 10s because I came there. I did my vestibular rehab course there
Oh, wow.
in 2018. Yeah.
That's so cool. I had
So
no
I really
idea.
like the campus and everything. So
Yeah, it's a good city. Selling it to everyone who's planning to apply.
Yeah.
Please come to
Yeah.
it.
Sure. Yeah. I have that in my top 10. So
Lovely.
thank
All
you.
the best,
Thank
man.
you so much. Thank you.
What are the questions that will be they like or something like that?
Yeah, and I think valid thought that you're thinking like, what questions should I ask them so that they feel this is relevant? And that's a good thought. I think that's very due diligence. You should not ask random questions.
Like
Long
put,
story short, ask
exploring
questions
things. Yeah.
that make sense to you, that are relevant to you. If you are not interested in research, don't ask research-based questions.
Okay.
You want to ask questions that matter to you. If it matters to you that you're going to be overworked in a program, ask them like, what are the working hours? Ask them, do you still have a night float system? If you feel that you want to go to a place with 3 different hospitals, ask them that if that's relevant to you. Don't think you want to ask questions to them what they like. You are also matching to them. You really need to know those answers to help you make your choice. Sometimes it's okay to use a process for what it is meant to. The open houses are meant for you to ask questions to them. The interviews are as much meant for you to ask them questions. And it's very fair for you to be a little afraid, be cautious to not ask the wrong question at the wrong time. Like, oh, in the interview, you're asking, are you giving me an H1B or a J1 visa? And like, go to hell. You don't ask that question in the interview because that's not their cup of tea. Ask them about the program, but genuinely impress them by being yourself, but have that opportunity to ask them questions that you really like. I was making notes on programs and I literally had a couple times I was like, I don't want to go to this program. Or they were like, I wasn't expecting to like this program, but I love this program after the interview. So use that opportunity to ask them the right questions too.
Okay.
Great job, Akash. Thank you
Thank
from
you. Thank you so
everyone
much.
else's side too. And Ripudaman, I'll go first to you and then we'll come back to Niharika.
Hi, Dr. Avi. I'm Ripudaman. I'm also from GMC Amritsar. So thank you so much for doing this. I had a follow-up question regarding the advanced and categorical positions. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to apply neurology this year, and all of my letter of recommendations are from neurology attendings.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, should I give a shot to advanced programs because I have to match in a prelim IM and I do not have a IM LOR.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So
yeah.
I would like to tell you, like, in retrospect, uh, I knew my application was great. Everything mostly worked out. Things that were difficult, I worked them out. I was confident enough that I was going to match in a great place to the point where I knew I didn't want to just match. I wanted to go to a great place. Knowing everything checks the boxes. Start getting invites within the 1 month period. And how it comes across is like, what problem did you have? Trust me, I had days where I was like, why am I not getting enough invites? Even after those 20, I was like, I expected more. I wanted more. Not that I want to go to 20 places. Same thing on the match day. I had no doubt that I would match at a great place. But in that moment, I did not know. I was prepared to match at my 20th place. I was still thinking, like, what if I don't match? What I'm trying to tell you is, even if it looks very convenient, very comfortable, everyone at their own place has a dilemma and everyone is stressed about things. Never take a chance that you aren't forced to take. I applied to as many advanced programs that I wanted to, almost every advanced program or like categorical, unless I really didn't want to go there. Okay. So we are not in a state right now to like pick and choose. We will be once we get the interviews. I would recommend go broad. It's easier to apply massively in 1 year than coming back, and that probabilistically does not give you as much of a applying advantage than applying broader in 1 year does. Again, having said that, not to places that don't take you, that doesn't make sense. I was someone who's like very um like unreasonably out of the box. I will do shit that people don't do. That's just my personality, but I don't recommend it to everyone if you don't feel it that way. And the reason that I believe that is because it has worked for me. And the reason I'm telling it to everyone out here is like, some people might be like that. Like, we're also someone can who believes they can beat the odds or whatever. But I think that's important because that's how I matched into Emory. If I was like, oh, are there IMGs? Are there Indians? Oh, never, ever before. The stats are not there, but someone makes those stats, right? So it's okay
Right.
to think that way too.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I wanted to apply all over, but though I had a dilemma because I don't have LOR in IM, so that was my only concern.
yeah, and I think that's a very fair question. And I think I want to answer that too, because I think that's something that a lot of people have in their heads. Like when you're applying for a specialization or like multiple specialties, what is your take on that? Like neuro and IM as well, or family medicine and IM. Because a lot of times a lot of us are not necessarily applying because we really want this lifestyle or whatever. We want like, okay, in this bracket, I'm fine with either. And we're kind of struggling with making it there. That is more important to a lot of us than where exactly. Although ideally we should know and we should be in a place that we can choose our lifestyle, and that's the goal. But the thing is, you can here make your lifestyle based on what you like ultimately. So it's okay to match once if that's what your dilemma is. You might be at a place where you're like realistically struggling to match at all. So you're trying to increase your chances, and that's very fair. I would say, for example, neurology and medicine are decently apart, but decently related, right? You can justify taking medicine to increase your number of chances, but also knowing that, like for neurology, beyond the scores, beyond everything else, I would want to see the passion that this person really wants neurology. And if to me, I'm like, this person's okay with either neurology or medicine, I will probably never take you for neurology, right? It's like
Right.
you're fine with either. But then the goal is the game is to be in that balance. When you are in your neurology mindset, be that neurology all the way in person. But if you are at a place where you're actually not sure if you'll be able to make it into neurology or trying to increase your chances, even for the sake of comfort, when other things are not as much of a like barrier to you. Example, like you can work out the finances or like work out a thing. I would say there is no harm. Actually, it's smart that you're trying to increase your chances. That's very fair. But no, don't think that when you're in your neurology mindset, because then you're just decreasing your chances in neurology, right? When you're
Okay.
sitting in there, be that person. Same thing. If you're applying for FM, IM for whatever XYZ reasons, find the right reasons and then actually believe in those reasons. And when you're sitting in those interviews or sending in those applications, because when you're applying for multiple specialties, then I expect you to make different PSs, right? Somewhat different personal statements. And your application has to be super smart that it incorporates both the things, right? In a very nuanced way. Um, so that's an extra
Hmm.
step that you take. But what I'm
Yeah.
trying to get at is it's fair. Like for me, I was like, I love medicine, but I cannot think of doing anything but neurology. But I also had the luxury of being this person who worked out great scores, whose application was all set, and I was able to take that risk. And I felt okay about that. And I was actually so against doing anything but neurology. Not everyone is like that, right? So it's okay. You feel what works for you and you go ahead with that.
Okay. I had one very specific question, might be a stupid one, but there's the option of selecting both H-1B and J-1 visa. I've heard some people saying that selecting both, like showing that you are seeking H-1B visa, decreases your chances of getting into. Is that a case, or what do you think about that?
I think the same struggle that we all face is preference of visas, and then knowing that J1 is much more than
Right.
H1B, but H1B is a better visa. What I can tell you
Right.
is I applied for like both, whatever that option is called now, because
Right.
the truth is we are okay with either ultimately. We
Right. Right.
get there. And that was my logic of applying both.
Okay.
I don't know. There's other opinions out there that apply for J1 and then ask for an H1B. Does
Right.
it work better? I don't know how that works. My honest truth was I am okay with either, and I'm actually better with H1B. So I don't want to lie and kill my options. What if a place that gives me H1B and J1 both, and they said, like, no, you applied for J1 and that's why we took you, and now you can't ask for H1B or whatever,
Right.
whatever. That has never happened. I've never heard that happen, but a very genuine thought in my head would be like that. Like, why are you trying to be over smart? I don't know if it's a thing if people get filtered because they chose they wanted an H1B. I don't know. It didn't happen for me. So I can't really tell you that, oh, this is smart or this is not smart. But I want to tell you that don't talk about it during your interviews right away. Talk about it to the program coordinator. One, because it's their end of the deal. Second, your goal is to ultimately get into the residency first, right?
Yep.
Not to say it's not important. Like I got an interview opportunity at Mayo where I got selected, and I figured out like I had to come on a J1 and then I had to stay on a J1 if I took that J1. And I did not say yes to Mayo at that time because I wanted to take a shot on H1B, which was very minimalistic, like 2% chance that I would match in an H1B program, honestly. I just took that shot, like, okay, my application is good enough. Let's see if H1B works. I ultimately ended up matching into an H1B program. So that shot worked out for me, right? If it was not, I would probably be somewhere else on a J1, and that would have been fine as well. But I would have been okay not taking that chance or however. undoubtedly H1B is better for a lot of reasons. Except one thing that I've heard is fellowship opportunities are better on J1. I don't know how that works, or I believe we're all good enough. If we had to make it somewhere, we'll make it on whatever visa we are on. But it's all about how you're trying to justify things in your head. The thing is, your visa preference has to come secondary to the place that you're going to.
Right.
And which has to come secondary to if the question in your head is if you'll match or not, right? All of
Right.
it is tertiary to secondary to primary. The objectives are like that. But I can tell you what I did. I chose like both J1 or H1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Niharika.
Hey, so another question.
Yes.
So as there is a new list which is being circulated, which is, I think, the initial accreditation, the newly accredited programs for 2024 to 2025. So when I was program list, I thought that, okay, I'll be applying to the newer programs for the last 2 years. So I made a list. And the problem is that a few programs, they have not mentioned what kind of visa do they sponsor. I can definitely look into the current residents if they are IMGs, they are Indians, or sometimes they have not mentioned their medical school, they have not mentioned what kind of visa do they sponsor, or even if they sponsor visa at all. So because a few people say that you right away apply to all the new programs, but will I be very comfortable entering into a program where I'm going to be the first
Yeah.
PGY1 and I won't have any mentorship from my seniors or anything? So how should I go?
I think that's a very, very fair question. And I used to feel this too, because when you'll be applying to new programs in your interviews, obviously, everyone comes very enthusiastic and there's pros and cons to everything. A new program would mean you're setting up everything, so there's not a lot of bias, but it definitely means you don't have anyone to teach you right away. You might be with attendings right away, maybe more work. It might be something that excites someone. It might be something that does not excite someone. I am also someone who would have loved to be in a program for multiple reasons where I have a whole staffing already. Because then I'm learning more than focusing less on building the program, because you're kind of building the program if you're going in as a first class. Importantly, logistically, a lot of times accreditation gets lost, especially for new programs, because they're not able to build in, maintain the requirements. So I think it requires more extensive research before making that decision. Um, Everyone will try to sell you their program. That is great. We'll go do this and whatever. But I've heard things very rightfully, like programs did not survive something. And ultimately, sometimes good things start happening. Like you will probably be transferred to a much better program, but we're not really sure, right? That's a gamble. That's a stress that people take. So unless you have a choice, I mean, I would rate a newer program lower in my rank list. Not to say that if I'm trying to get more interviews, I will definitely apply, right? I remember while I had gotten like 13, 14 interviews, there was in the middle of the cycle, there was a new program in neurology that got opened. And I have to apply. Like, I cannot feel that I did not do my part or whatever. And it was a decent program in a good city. Now I know what to do. So basically, just make sure that in your head, you take away a point for a program being a new program, is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, you take away a point. I would not count it as a plus, something is a new program. I agree to your thought process. Because you have to build a lot of things, but you gotta go if you gotta go, and you gotta take it with all the positivity. But if you have a choice, it would be lower on my list.
So I should apply, but like not rely on that too much.
Lovely. I think that should be a caption. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. Pretty much. I would say so. Okay. No worries, Raman. You're good. Any other questions we have from anyone, or any other final thoughts, actually? Otherwise, I can try go through a few questions that I might have for everyone. But
Hi, Avi. I have a question.
yes.
I actually have a mixed bag of 3 questions. You answered most of them, but just to be specific. So the first thing is hobbies and interests is a separate section. Now we know that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has 300 characters limit in it.
Mhm.
So do you recommend, it's not like I have a bunch of very great hobbies, but do you recommend putting them in a list so that they ask me more about it? Or do you recommend completing it as a line that I like exploring this, I like doing that. Outside of medicine, like doing that. So what should be the ideal way to do that?
I think again, I think the filter should be how it is presented. Is it readable? Does it interest someone? The reason you're writing it to catch hold onto someone's attention, right? So again, I can give you an example of how I wrote my hobbies. Okay, let me just try help you if I can share with you guys my CV from last year. Uh, Actually 2 years already.
That's that's wonderful.
Um,
That's great.
but yeah, as I do that, I can keep talking to you so that I'm still
Okay,
relevant.
so can I ask my small second question
Yes,
next?
I think that will be more helpful to me as I.
Okay, so up until now, I have not sent any letters of interest, and
Okay.
I heard that people are sending it. So is it recommended to send it now, or because some programs they do mention that we don't communicate with applicants outside of ERAS at all, so don't even consider. So
Yeah,
should I, like, it won't create a negative impact if I send or if I don't send? Like, is what's
yeah.
the
I
deal there?
think some programs will specifically mention that don't. I think it's very fair to take that seriously uh,
Mhm.
and not do it, because especially if you read it, people do send it, which is fine. I would say like if you had a really good interview with someone, right? Um, so you can like in a personal capacity send them. Like I literally like enjoyed talking to you, and it was pretty useful. Like in the capacity that you enjoyed that interview, and it doesn't come across as like, if you don't get the vibe from someone's very stern, very organized, very ruly, and their profile says, the website says that we don't appreciate it, don't risk it. It's, if at all, it's not gonna make a
Okay.
lot of difference. But sometimes you like, some interviews are like, they will come to you and they're like, we loved you, it was such a great session. Like I had an interviewer who was like, while reading your personal statement, I thought that I already knew you, and he was like coming across as a friend to me. And I was like so shocked, like I knew that if I mailed it to him, it's not gonna be taken in any other way. That I actually enjoyed talking to him. And then he was like, he told, without me asking him during the interview, he's like, I wanna like recommend you. Obviously, if you want to come here. So he's giving me the hint. So they have the power to do that. But yes,
Mhm.
I think it's a very human emotion that if you really enjoyed an interview, to like how do you say, to keep the conversation alive with a person that you really enjoyed. And I still talk to the program directors that I interviewed with. I met them at AN. Not that I went to all of those places. Like I went to Emory. I just went to one program. But also I get it. It's a process, but finding from within that process some genuinity, that they know
Yeah.
that you're applying to multiple places. You know that they're interviewing multiple people. They know
Yeah.
not everyone's gonna match there. You know you're not gonna match everywhere. And you guys are still talking. And that's fine,
Yes. Fair point.
right?
Fair point. So the criteria should be an interview and not before application. I should not send any email saying that I have applied there, I have an interest in your program. That's what we have signals for, right? So we should
Yeah.
not.
I mean, you can send a letter of intent and interest unless it says on their website that they have
Okay.
a problem with it. I did it.
Okay.
Like I wanted to show interest. And again, you don't want to feel
Mhm.
that I could do something and I did not. But however, it
Okay.
makes you feel good about it. Okay.
Got it. Oh,
What I
yeah.
show you for your first question, partly, Shambhavi.
Yes. That
Like,
seems like a list. Yeah.
yeah. So, and this changes every year, right? So,
Yeah.
it's okay how it looks, but what I'm trying to give you is a perspective on how I see about things or how I look about things, right? For example, we had a hobbies and interests section, and this literally has like word limit. I'm sure it has a character limit for you as well. So
Yes.
everything that goes in there is made sure like how it's written. Like I cannot write a one-liner about every little hobby in there, right? Because
Okay.
there's characters, and looks very straightforward. But I'll tell you what the thought process has been. So the sequence of things is, it starts with something para academic, like it starts with poetry, It starts with quizzing,
Mhm.
but then it's like, okay, travel, which probably will connect to a lot of people. Then, oh, something unique, logo designing, digital art. And then, okay, Bhangra. And then movies and Marvel buff, which is cool. A cool fact I want to share, but I don't want to put it on number one because there are more interesting things about me than just that. And then there's teaching via YouTube. I write because like you want to mention something which is interesting. Like what is teaching? What does teaching mean? But if you write like teaching via YouTube, I had so many interviews. Oh, tell us about it. Like you just tease it, right? Same thing. Like cricket, like what cricket? Like I'm a bowler. Like someone's a pitcher in baseball, they'll probably ask me that question, right? And if you see, they're all scattered. Like Bhangra is a
Yeah.
physical thing and cricket is a physical thing. So they are like far apart. They're not together. Teaching is something para academic, so it's in the middle. Like poetry is up there, so teaching is down below. And also because I've talked about teaching in my personal statement, so I don't want that to be the highlight. Poetry is big. I want you to think about it, and that's big for me. So my hobbies have to reflect that too, right? Same thing. What am I really writing? Like travel. What does travel mean? Like anyone can say travel, but what's unique about me at that time? I had traveled to 13 countries. Some
Mhm.
some people are going to be intrigued by that and talk to you about that. What is quizzing? Like I do all of these quizzes. That's intriguing. But for example, the only thing I write in bracket is for Bhangra because I assume there are a lot of people who will not know what Bhangra is, right?
Okay.
So building the right narrative, but then I don't need to write what cricket is, right? I know a lot of people know what cricket is. So
Mhm.
it's there's no rule to it, right? There's no rule to it, is what I'm getting at. And then I used one character for spacing. The goal is not for me to put everything in. The goal is for them to be able to read what I'm saying. I should not be happy thinking like I squeezed in another hobby by excluding all the spaces. Like literally messed up my first 8 things, right? So think about that when you write that.
Yes, that was my exact question, like exact question.
Mhm. Glad.
Okay, thank you so much. Just one left with just one more. I know you cleared it pretty well, but if I'm signaling a program that's not my geographical preference, will it be will it come out as a negative thing? If I'm signaling program, for example, in Alabama, but I have my preference is somewhere in Florida, I mean, how does that work then?
Yeah, I think I talked initially with Priyati. I think sure, I get it. I get the
Confusion, yes.
the confusion that it might not fit super well right away. But I don't think that
Mhm.
it needs to be overthought at the same time. It's okay. They know that you have geographical preferences. Great if you signal within it. But if you have a couple programs that are outside of it, it's okay. They're going to look at the signal first. Uh,
Okay.
and does not necessarily need to make a lot of sense to them right away. So
Oh,
that's
yeah,
I think.
that clears it pretty well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have another question from anyone? Okay. Ira, I'm gonna hand it over to you for a couple minutes as by the time that I can fill in a feedback
I have
form.
I have a
Yes.
question. Can you walk us through the CV? Because that's quite impressive. And I mean, like, I'm sure everybody, if it's okay with the match applicants, like, I think some of us are applying for the next match, so we could probably draw some inspiration from you.
Sure. I mean, I can like very quickly walk.
Very
Okay. I'm gonna very quickly walk you through guys through it. More than happy to. Just 1 second. Um, what I've also tried to do is simultaneously send the feedback form in the WhatsApp group just in case before I forget. But importantly, mm, Ira, can you simultaneously also copy and paste that in the Zoom chat box?
sure.
Okay.
No worries.
I love it how conveniently I can just ask for help. Okay. And guys, feel free to ask any questions in the middle of it. I will hopefully wrap it before this session ends. But just in case, feel free to join again. We'll wrap up the session. But it's obviously been lovely, lovely, lovely to be here. I'm sure you guys are all gonna match at great places. Just keep the confidence alive. I think that's the most important thing. Don't let people make you feel that you're not good enough. Everyone's different, so find your niche in where you want to go, why you want to go, and once you know that, you are gonna be so positive during your interviews. And trust me, when people ask me why I matched, it's not the scores. I've heard a lot of people tell me it's 270s, 260s, and oh, such a bad luck, this person did not match. It's not about the scores. The scores get you open the right doors. But if you cannot communicate, if you cannot be a positive person, no one would really want to like have you, right? And I see that in a lot of people who are very positive, and that's what makes me tell it with all the truth in my heart that matching is not difficult. It is difficult for someone who's not a nice person. You guys are all super nice. You're very positive. It's not difficult. The challenging part is to open the doors. And that's why I ask everyone to try get best scores. Let's present your application the best possible way. And it's not that I'm teaching you a way to hack the system. No, I'm just trying to break the walls and put in windows there so that they can see who you are and you'll match there. You'll be very happy. But the point is we got to present ourselves using the ways that they have people here have been brought up with. They know how to project confidence. The knowledge, you guys have great knowledge. You've had great dedication. You spent 6 years, 5 years uh, learning things, botany, zoology that people can't even imagine here. Okay, like, and to the extent how we learn it is crazy. Use all of that to your knowledge, to your advantage, and stay the same confident. Like, I can tell you, like, confidence comes with competence. You have the potential to be competent, and confidence sells here, like sells like wildfire. So stay that confident. Know that you are going to a great place because you are a great person. No one's gonna take you if you're not good enough for them. So there is no question of you trying to feel that, oh, someone did a favor on you. Never. You made it yourself at every single step. And at any point, someone makes you feel that you're not good enough or makes you feel a little underconfident, just get away from that situation. Do your best. And then also look at positivities for wherever you end up with. Right? We are all not geniuses because we chose to become doctors, and we are also not dumb people because we became doctors. So it's okay to be medically mediocre. And with that, I'll endorse myself. Feel free to uh, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Medically Mediocre. So I try and collaborate with a lot of beautiful people here for a lot of content we make. Ira, can you help share the link? Perfect. And I'll open the CV right up for you. And just in case the call gets cut in between, don't worry. I'll walk through the CV for everyone who chooses to join after. The other thing that I have realized, which I think is super important, I did not realize until very late, or maybe I just didn't have a lot of time, is amongst the medical fraternity, like Twitter is very active apparently. If you're doing something unique, there's something that is good to the level that you want to involve attendings, I think invest your time on Twitter, connect, build your network. Again, find balance. Not everyone is a social media person. You don't have to, but some people are like, oh, we are doing LinkedIn because we want to like build up contacts. I think Twitter is pretty useful with that respect. The Facebook of attendings is how I think about it in my head. Yeah. And again, it might look a little different because it changes every year. If you have a US address, feel free to put in there, in the sense if you have a relative, because they're gonna like send mails to them. A lot of times we try to be part of these organizations that we have no idea about. I would avoid that, at least, especially if you have not done anything in that. Just one name of an organization that you've not done anything in, I think will do more harm than good. When I'm talking about my externship, parts of those are capitalized because people who want to skim through it can skim through it, but it's not too much that they're not able to make sense of it. Everything in there has to be useful. For example, I saw 45 patients weekly, which is big, right? Including consults and follow-ups, but don't brag saying things which don't seem realistic, right? And then I used to make a list of things that I did during my electives. Like I saw headaches like migraine, trigeminal neuralgia, carpal tunnel syndrome, sciatica, multiple sclerosis. Don't run behind unique things. It's okay. They expect common things that you've been aware about, right? What exactly did you do? I assisted in patient orders. I assisted in patient counseling and referrals to other specialties. And feel free to pick on from these things if that is what you have done. Because it took me like a really, really long time how to put it across. Because I want to argue with them that, oh, he's an international graduate. He probably does not know the EMR. But by the time they go through my CVs, they're like, oh, he's done it all. So that you want to bust that myth that you've not experienced the system. Same thing, make a uniform template across your rotations, 4 weeks of this. So I've written inpatient and outpatient, both the things that were unique to me. Outpatient, what did I exactly do overall? And then I used to make an overall experience. Like I used to do daily didactics, or like volunteer to give a presentation on complications of diabetes, received a book, or like even things like if like my attending gifted me a book. So I will make sure I wrote that because that is important to me, right? Don't feel you have to have only things that are very, very formal. Whatever is relevant and can make a difference, right? Same thing, if I was at Maimonides, then this is because I worked with 4 different neurology teams over 4 weeks. So I did both inpatient and emergencies. 2 weeks of neurology consults. This is what I did. These are the cases that I came across. Then 1 week of neuro ICU. This is what I did. Brain death examinations. Like if I want to make sure, like if I wrote like observed roving eye movements regarding this critical care patient, all I want to get from them is like, this person's written this specific thing. He's obviously done it, or he's obviously seen it. And if you think from a doctor's perspective, these things might be very common and like not a big deal to me anymore. But what I'm trying to get at is that as a student, this guy has actually done all of this, and then it's just very much relevant to me. And same thing on the opposite spectrum, as interns or residents, you do not get to do a lot of brain death examinations. So I'm sure, like if I've written this is a big deal, which I could do as a student. So make sure you write things that you've really done, but also write things that you think can be relevant, right? No one's trying to make you a PhD person right away. So simple thing like 1 week of stroke unit, witness stroke codes regularly followed by stroke patients. This is regular stuff, but what it is trying to tell you that I saw some strokes, I have experience in it, right? Same thing. This was a tele rotation. So I wrote there was a 4 week tele rotation, these are the things. And then like for this rotation, my highlight was something else. So I wrote it as a highlight, right? My uniformity across my experiences is that I make headings, I give spaces, and I capitalize things. And everywhere I'm using the same dots. I'm not doing like 1, 2, 3 bullets at some point, dot somewhere else, trying to make space, whatever. Volunteered to give a presentation on tuberous sclerosis, but important thing, like much appreciated and featured on YouTube. So I used to put in the link inside. So if you click on this link, it opens right away to my
Good morning.
presentation. So if someone needs to open it, go ahead. If not, the fact that I've put in a link is enough proof that I've done it, right? And I think not that anyone told me to do this. I just came to my head, like I've actually done it. I want them to see it, which is big. And someone like one of my attendings during my once I matched told me like, your application, we remember it had those links and it was such a great job. So you don't want to just write things for the sake of it. Like some person might be skimming through it and not doing anything. He's like, oh wait, there's a link, and he might open it and they'll be like, this is great, right? Same thing. This was my experience back in India. What did I do there? So in India, my highlights are going to be different. Like it's going to be like really relevant to my work. Whereas my highlights in the US are also going to talk about what did I learn about the system in the US, right? So I included some counseling, whatever I did here. Then so I have 5 teaching experience, clinical experiences up there. So I talk about teaching experience that I did 8 weeks of teaching at this place, taught neuroradiology to pharma residents, paramedical staff. What did I do specifically? Integrated their use into clinical applications and whatever, and highlighted things that are important. Same thing. The next one that I have is internship in medical school itself, which all of us do. But this is how I've presented it, right? Like I did medicine and neurology 6 weeks, like all the weeks, how much have I done? And I have proof of everything. So I went into and checked my MSP and wrote things like that. I worked in both inpatient, outpatient, performed simple procedures like venous blood sampling, suturing, wound dressing. All of us do, but it's big hair. So you have to identify what's big hair and what needs to be mentioned. Like I was telling you, like we all, at least we worked in a lot in the rabies clinic for 2 weeks. It is obviously getting diluted in the 100 things that I've done, right? But rabies clinic in the US is huge, right? Because no one does it. So you have to find things like that. And you know that they are very public health heavy. We've done a lot of public health stuff. We just don't think about it like that, right? We just think about our SPM as like another subject we need to get done with. But then if SPM has tortured you so much, get the benefit out of it, right? Let the world know that you've done a lot of it. Same thing if I was the ambassador of a teaching program, Global Neuroscience Association. So I have a link right here. So they can go there and they can check the link to GNA, that it's a real organization, like how big it is, how much does it do, right? Same thing for AMSA. These are the things that I did. I was an academic coordinator. So I was like, I did a study session where medically mediocre started on smart study with 900 plus students. So things that are relevant. And this is like, I started my own YouTube channel. So this is the link to that YouTube channel. I did academic quizzes and created my own original quiz. This is the link to that quiz. I did this international certification course in bioethics. So it's there in the bioethics relevant AMSA section. So now I might have done this under some other project within AMSA, but I don't want to give it another experience, right? So it can go within that, is what I was trying to get at. It does not need to be like, did it happen under this, but it's relevant to that, right? So created videos on YouTube, and then this is the link, right? Because something can interest someone and something can interest someone else. This was regarding just a voluntary thing. This was when I was helping as an editor for a magazine on neurology. So that is all relevant to that. And then this is the link to that magazine so that I don't have to bring it to you. You can just open it and you'll be seeing it. This is a quiz that I did. So we have it over there so that they press it and they can see that my neurology quiz that I have designed, right? So it's so convenient, right? Like it's so easy. Like someone who wants to just go through, like you get it at the end of it, no one should be able to doubt you that this person's passionate for neurology or whatever they're trying to do. Again, the reason I'm sharing it all is not to say this is how your CV should look. I'm just trying to show you the 100 different things that I did so that you can be like, I can do this, or I can do this, or I can do that, or like I can find a way. Like if I do a lot of cooking, if I can make my own very unique desserts, I want to record a video, I have it on YouTube, let me put a link, or let me put a link to all the delicacies that I've made, or whatever, right? Same thing, I gave a voiceover for an animated movie, which is again in my list of things I would not even keep it so high, but because it's so different, I wanted to put it in there, right? And if you see, because I wanted to put it in there, I combined my academic teaching experiences and that thing into one experience because they're related to each other. And then if I was a COVID-19 volunteer, then these are the things that I did. And probably part of my own, part of it was just internship, part of it was like the delay. But then I wrote a poem on like I wrote an article on 13 questions about vaccines, which is not related to this. But because I'm telling that I'm a COVID-19 volunteer, it can go in there, right? So this is, if this is an article that I wrote at some point where they can see it's me. So it's straightforward for them to just confirm I'm there or not. And it's not that they're trying to confirm it, but just the trust level that you get, that because if this person's saying he's done so much of this, this is a very real possibility that he's just bullshitting, like he's not done stuff. Then you have to come with that expectation that you'll probably need to prove a lot of things. And to the point, if at any point there is anything that is not done by me and that gets caught, then I've literally not done anything, then everything goes to waste, right? Same thing if I was one of my experiences is research based, so everything research is in there. And then for me, like AMSA was really big, so I tried to combine everything I did within AMSA under these headings: leadership, teamwork, responsibility, skill development, house system, whatever things that I think were relevant to me, right? And then I write something about what AMSA is, 7,000 members. I make sure I can write AMSA here because at the top I have written the full name of what AMSA is, right? You write your tenure. If you've completed like something for a year, I think that is very relevant. Like the longer you've served in somewhere, it's much more relevant. So I've mentioned like reason for leaving, 1 year tenure completed, whatever. Research co-author in whatever I did. Then this is how I used to write my research experiences. These are the things I did: review of literature, manuscript writing. And then achievements, like where did it get accepted? Did I do any case report presentation somewhere? So every research experience that I did at different positions, I wrote them as that. And sometimes if there was not much to write, or if it was relevant to neurology, I even wrote the results of the research within the bracket, which is fine. What I'm trying to tell you is it can be anything, whatever you think is relevant to that experience, right? The important thing to know is it should be easy to read. It should be clear that if this person does not want to know the result of the research, he can skip it. But he wants to know, what did you do with this research achievement? Or what did you do during this time? That is different, right? Same thing, if I did something at a different place, I would mention, like if this was SGRD, so I would mention SGRD, this was done there. Different places make you think that this person is not just like gotten resources from one place and he's just not like piling up on that and that and that. Then I think the articles abstracts are straightforward. There's a very straightforward template to it. I think the important thing is peer-reviewed best, other than published, not yet published, poster presentations, wherever you did mention those, oral presentations, mention those. I had a lot of non-peer-reviewed online publications, and that includes my medical poetry. So all of that can be included. And if you see, there is link to literally everything. Delusions about drugs, so you have a poem on that. If I've written something on informed consent, you can just go there. And it took effort to find all of these and make links and stuff, but I think it was super worth it. Again, languages, as especially IMGs, we speak multiple languages. I think please use that to your best advantage. Right, what you feel functional native in, and I think it's super useful. I literally had a stroke code day before yesterday. Everyone was trying to find a translator at that time. The person knew Bengali and Hindi, and I could manage the whole stroke alert before the translator came. So I think those things which can have a practical implication, that patient got TNK, got started getting better. We didn't have to waste another hour wasting for a translator. And again, those things are important, right? Already talked about my hobbies. Make sure that they're in the right sequence. Don't cluster them together. Write what is relevant in the brackets. Make sure your character count is counted. I would ask you to have spaces in between so that it's easy to read. Does not need, everything should not have another one-liner if it's not relevant. Like if I'm saying poetry, what does that mean? It means that I've written 31 poems in 3 languages, which is published in 7 books and performed at national platforms. Everything is not there for the sake of it. 31 poems, important because it is impressive. 3 languages, impressive. 7 books, he's published. He's performed anywhere, at home? No, at national platforms. So think about everything when you're asking those things. Like if I'm using a character, is it adding anything beyond what is already written? If it's Bhangra, I've done it at my college level and I've done it at parties, but I like doing it, but that's about it. I don't want to like necessarily say something about it. I've not performed on a national platform, so I don't need to say that, but I like it. It's part of my hobby. Same thing, I'm a movies and Marvel buff. Not, if I had time, I would have mentioned like won the national competition somewhere, but it's okay. I don't want to, I don't want that to be the highlight over the other things that are important to me. So it's okay. I think we had this section, other awards and accomplishments, except medical as well. I don't know how it works for you guys. But then I tried to write these starting from best research, which is still somewhat medical, then best mono act movie because it was a medically related theme. And I just didn't write like, I've seen a lot of people like won the best well-dressed, whatever. But I would make it medically relevant somehow if you can, right? Like I won the best mono act movie. But then I was like, what was the theme? It's suicide among doctors. I literally had that theme. That is why I made that movie. So I don't want the highlight to be that I won. The highlight is, oh, you did a movie on this theme, which is cool, I guess, and relevant. It's intentionally not too short. And it's okay. I would say don't leave parts of it blank. Like your research section should not be blank. It can have less stuff. It can have like 1 publication, 1 poster, 2 presentations is fine. Don't leave it blank, because sometimes it's just about, there was nothing about research in there. So no one's probably going to go so deep. I'm not the best researcher. I've not done a lot of stuff, but no one can doubt after seeing this that he's done decent stuff. And that's what my goal is, right? So I think that was mostly about the CV. Ira, very rightfully, you deserved the extra time, and thank you for
Thank
helping
you very
everyone.
much. We appreciate it so much. Thank you. You took your time out despite it being a beautiful day for you to rest, and you came all the way here, and now you're giving us your time and also walking us through your entire CV, which you didn't sign up for. Thank you so very much for that. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you so very much. I'm glad that I could make it, and thank you to you, to Mayank, to Priyati, who were like very helpful in the last moments for a few things. And that's where I think my strength is, like having you guys, you inspire me honestly. And I'm sure like all the people in here are gonna do great job very soon themselves. But before we let go, I think a couple things. I know I've not been able to cover all the questions. Besides that, it would be super helpful if you could fill in the feedback form, because it'll just help us get better next year. And definitely, if more of you guys are interested in joining, helping, that would be icing on the cake, because I usually don't get a lot of time. And you guys will get busier next year, but whenever, if this is what interests you, feel free to join. And the last thing that we always do is ask people to turn on their videos for a photo so that we can capture. Oh, hi, Mehak. How are you?
Thank you so much. I joined late, but it was a great session. Most of the things which I had, people had already asked, so I didn't have a lot of questions. But thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm so glad. It's always nice to know like where everyone is in their journey. Especially knowing you guys are gonna be great ultimately. So all the very best.
But Avi, you're not visible. Where's Avi?
I'm not visible.
No, you're not. I'm so self-obsessed. I'm like, okay, I'm coming.
Now I'm back.
Yes, please. Yay. Okay, I got a couple of them.
Lovely. Thank you so much, guys. All the very best. I know it's too late in the season. I'm glad I could catch the last Sunday with you guys. Always more than happy to be available to most of you. Everyone's welcome to Atlanta, but sometimes I'm not able to reply, and I'm so sorry. This is my little way of making it up. A lot of questions, you can find it on YouTube, Twitter, wherever I've been able to share. For everything else, I think feel free to help each other out. You guys are great resources for each other, and make sure you update me whenever you match, wherever you match, and then you come to Atlanta.
Thank you so much.
Hi, it's Nimrita.
Hi.
Thank you so much for this session. It was an amazing session, and you pretty much answered everything, I think. And thank you for this session. And definitely, we need to catch up. It's been almost a year now.
Absolutely. You're always welcome. Just let us know. And we'll all actually have a big hangout party. I'll save some money from residency funds, I guess. But thank you so much, everyone. Please do fill the feedback. Let us know how you felt about the session. Because that is my fuel of coming back every year. And then hopefully have more of you reach out to me and we can do it all together. Perfect. Bye, guys. Adios.
A place to go. Sunlight dances through the window. Lazy haze